Hello class, I'm Monsieur Leroux. Today I'm going to present to you what I worked on the past couple of weeks. Past couple of weeks I decided to work on the Ku Klux Klan, specifically in the 1920s, because I wanted to know more about this social group and what were their ideologies. The Ku Klux Klan began in 1865 in Pulaski, Tennessee. The Klan was created by 6 former Confederate soldiers known as Calvin E. Jones, Frank O. McCord, Richard R. Reed, John B. Kennedy, John C. Lester, and James R. Crow. The Ku Klux Klan was created because President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. This proclamation was to formally free all the slaves in America. Some Southerners feared their lives after the proclamation because they felt that they would be harmed for the horrible things that they had done towards African Americans. The Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s represented a more complex ideology than of the Klan in the 1860s. The Klan in the 1860s was known as the Invisible Empire due to the secrecy of this group. The Klan was only fighting to suppress the rights of African Americans. The Klan in the 1920s was a mainstream Klan that became more involved in society. The Klan emerged in the 1920s because there was a change in American society. Social change was occurring, more people lived in cities than in countrysides, and everything was becoming so modern. The Klan in the 1920s fought to preserve white supremacy, enforce prohibition, and maintain American values and traditions. The Klan's hatred towards African Americans was not a major concern for them in the 1920s. The Klan was mostly active in the North, where there was a smaller African American population. The Ku Klux Klan now went after immigrants. In Linda Gordon's book, The Second Coming of the Ku Klux Klan, defines the mind of the Ku Klux Klan members. The Ku Klux Klan states that they believed in the supremacy of the white race and that it is just right the younger brothers should be taught to respect those lines of birth and color which the Creator, in His superior wisdom, has drawn. The Klan believed that whites should be given the best political and economic opportunities. The Klan felt that they were not receiving the best opportunities because companies would hire immigrants because there were low-skilled jobs. This made immigrants from Europe move into white communities. Rural Americans feared that urbanization and industrialization would prevent them from having the best economic opportunities. This is what caused the cultural war in America. The Klan in the 1920s saw their lives being taken away from them and by immigrants. The Klan's ideas on immigration influenced national legislation. From 1921 to 1924, Congress passed a series of immigration laws. The Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s also enforced prohibition. This created a legitimacy for the Klan because it sold itself as a law and order organization. The Klan would argue that it was going to clean up communities and get rid of bootleggers. The Klan's main targets were immigrants from Europe because prohibition advocates linked them with drinking. The Klan believed that if they did not enforce prohibition in the 1920s, based on the increase of population, it would be too late. The reason why the Klan attracted millions of Protestants to join and enforce prohibition was because, according to Lisa McGuire, prohibition provided the Klan essentially a kind of new mandate for its anti-Catholic, anti-immigration, white Protestant nationalist mission. The Klan often gained a foothold in local communities in the 1920s by arguing that it would clean up communities and it would get rid of bootleggers and moonshiners. The Klan also would attack Catholic immigrants that would violate prohibition by burning their homes, businesses, and planting evidence to use against them. The Ku Klux Klan mostly felt that immigrants violated prohibition. The Klan would also target African American bars and nightclubs, but it was not often. The Klan also feared the decline of American values in the 1920s. The Klan consisted of men and women of good intentions. Everything in the 20s was becoming so modern and different because of the Roaring 20s. The Roaring Twenties introduced new trends in lifestyles and cultures. The Ku Klux Klan felt the need to intervene in American society by promoting God. The Klan defined Americans who believed in God, were Protestant, believed in laws and liberty, believed in freedom of speech, and believed in protection of womanhood. The Klan fought modernity by protecting traditionalism. The Klan fought modern actions such as drinking, gambling, and being sexually active by promoting American traditions such as going to church and being good American citizens by following the law and orders. The Klan tried to integrate religion in school because teenagers were immoral by following the modern trends of the 1920s. Teenagers were being sexually active, and the Klan felt that religion would be a new way to motivate the youth to continue the American traditions by going to church and being morally good people. In order for the Klan to pursue these new ideologies on Americans, they needed to be more mainstream. The Klan would do a lot more activities such as rallies, picnics, and fairs. The Klan owned 150 magazines and newspaper companies. This allowed them to publish newspapers and magazines based on their principles and views on how the American life should be lived. They also brainwashed Americans into joining the Klan by stating, "There is nothing un-American about the organization," or that you are not 100% American if you do not join the Klan. The Klan also owned a motion pictures company in Hollywood. They used this company to produce films on their principles and ideologies. The Klan produced two films in 1923 which were The Troll of Justice and The Traitor Within. These movies represented the American traditions and repelled being sexually active, gambling, and drinking. The Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s embraced a more complex ideology compared to the Klan in 1866. The Ku Klux Klan burst out of prominence in the 1920s because of the new American lifestyle. People were becoming immoral by gambling, drinking, and being sexually active. The Klan in the 1920s fought not only to suppress the voices of African Americans, but to also fight for the morality, such as keeping the American values, preserving whiteness, and enforcing prohibition. The Ku Klux Klan was able to fight for these changes in a new modern American society by becoming more public. The Klan would create public events and gain the attention of millions of people. The Klan owned newspaper companies which would give them the exposure they needed. They also owned movie production companies. They would make movies that would teach the youth the real American lifestyle. The Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s was a real social movement, which not only encouraged the suppression of African Americans and immigrants,